Welcome back to Beyond the Helmet. I'm your host, Steve McGrath, and today I have a very special episode, something that I am just beyond honored to do, and that is have Team USA's own Tokyo-bound Paralympian Noelle Lambert. Noelle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to be here and to talk to you and just to kind of go through my journey with you.
It's an honor to be able to spread the word because I'm used to talking about guys that you maybe had to battle back through concussions or they're banged up, torn ACL, but obviously none of that really compares to anything that you've gone through. So you're about to show some of the tough guys what real toughness truly is. So, but of course the Olympics are going on now. They've been going on for a couple of weeks. What is your schedule looking like now? When are you getting ready to head to Japan?
Yeah, so I actually leave August 20th, and then I compete on September 4th. So the Paralympics start on the 24th. So I'll be able to be there for a couple weeks before I compete. But I mean, my schedule right now is just kind of getting my butt kicked right now by my coach and my teammate. Just kind of getting ourselves in the position that we need to be when we do compete. I think it's going to start winding down. Like we're just going to start like kind of like taking back, like not lifting as much probably even in the next couple weeks and just focus more on the mechanics and the movements and everything. So, I mean, I'm super excited. It's crazy to think about. I don't think it's really settled in yet and kind of hit me, but I guess I'll have that 14-hour plane ride to kind of think about it.
So it's definitely more excitement than nerves right now.
Yeah, right now. I'm sure when I get there, then it'll transform all over to nerves, and then it stinks because I mean this happened to me when I went to Dubai for the World Championships. I got there and I had 2 weeks before my competition, and everyone was competing, and so I was just waiting for it and waiting for it. So it's going to be just like that again. Just the anticipation is probably going to make me it's going to be a lot nerve wracking, but I mean just something to appreciate, and I mean it goes along with the journey, and I'm really excited for it.
So much of it's a mental game, right? You do all the physical preparation, but just not getting like the jitters right before the gun goes off, let alone the 2 weeks of sitting there waiting. I mean, at least you have a little experience under your belt, not your first time having to wait it out, as you just said in Dubai.
Yeah, I mean, but like you said, the mental aspect of it can be very tough, especially just in practice and just like working on things that you know how to do and stuff like that. But then getting in the blocks and kind of being in that moment, that's just like a whole different ball game and just kind of trying to ease your nerves. I would still say I'm a rookie in that aspect because I mean this is probably this is my biggest competition yet, but this is like my second like championships and stuff like that. So I mean it's something that I need to get used to, but I mean I'm hoping the nerves will help, the adrenaline will help. I mean usually it does. When I get to a big competition, I'm really nervous and the adrenaline kind of kicks in. I just black out and I don't really remember anything, and usually it goes well for me. So hopefully that's kind of the same thing.
I mean, how much of it do you actually relate to, just being a former lacrosse player, someone that's done team sports your whole life, just that like game day ritual, what you have to do to get your mind right? I mean, at some level, it can't be completely new for you.
It isn't completely new, but it's definitely different because I mean lacrosse, you have a team to kind of lean on, and you're not the only nervous one, and you're not the only one that people have eyes on, and it's really not about just you in a team sport. And so transitioning over to track, I mean everything depends on what you do, and you only have a certain amount of seconds to get it right, and you only have one chance to get it right. And so kind of transitioning over, that was just one of the biggest I would say difficult aspects of the whole thing. It's all leaning up to one moment, and you only have this one moment, and it's crazy to think about. But definitely like going into like a lacrosse game and then like going into a meet, like it's definitely the same preparation. I mean, you got your music to kind of settle you down, your warm-ups, and just kind of like get you into the zone and stuff like that. You do have your teammate. I mean, I'm lucky enough to be able to train alongside someone and kind of warm up with them. So I'm not by myself. And I always like look up to her and everything. Her name's Famida Beku, and she's a Bologna amputee. So we don't compete against each other, but we run the same events and everything. So it's really nice to kind of have that support and to kind of lean on. So I wouldn't say I'm by myself. But yeah, it's definitely different, and it's definitely just something that is so hard to get used to. And like I've been doing this, like you said, for about 2 years. So I'm still getting to that point where I need to be absolutely like lacrosse girl out of me, and it's getting to that point.
Now, you're so used to doing, training and all the hours and hours of practice, just from your lacrosse life, let alone what you've been doing the last 2 years. But how hard was it just getting this brand new technique right, which is something that I'd imagine had to be a pretty awkward motion just because it's so different than anything you would have done before. Just that actual running motion and just getting that down so precisely because every microsecond counts.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started track, I thought that my running form was pretty good, and then I showed up my first day at practice with my coach, and he just tore my running form apart. And he was like, "What am I looking at right now? Like, this is awful." And so that kind of, I mean, it has taken a while. I would say it's taken about a year and a half to final. I mean, like it's taken up to this point to kind of get to the point where, okay, like I'm a lot more fluid. I mean, it's just, it's so hard because like it's not just running in track. Like it's the arm swings. It's like relaxing your face, relaxing your shoulders, and not overthinking everything, and everything plays a part. So when I first started, I had no idea what any of those meant. And so having the coach that I did, I mean, he literally calls me Twinkles, like because I honestly don't even know why he calls me Twinkles, but it's honestly just because there are just so many different things in practice that like I'll do, and then he'll tell me that I do it, and then the next run I'll fix it immediately. So it's kind of having that tough criticism that I absolutely need. But yeah, it's definitely one of the most difficult things because just like being so symmetrical in each side and really using your arm swings. I mean, it really does play a part in how you perform.
In one last question I had about the training is just, my conception of working out is, everything I've ever known, which is, similar to everything that you ever known prior to 2016. How hard was it just for you to get your mind in a place where, you figured out what the new reality is? And how hard was it for you to get to a place where you're getting like what you felt was a very intense, good workout? Because I just imagine that it had to be very different for you to train cardio when you only have, one leg running the same mechanic that you're used to.
Yeah, I mean, something funny about me, before my accident, I was that type of player that hated to do any extra work, and like I hated going to practice. I was only like an in-game player. I would give 100% effort. Like you could always count on me in a game, but at practice, I would just never try. And even in the weight room, would never try. So, I mean, I
Coach's
didn't really,
dream.
yeah. I mean, I was the athlete coaches loved and hated at the same time because I would perform really well in a game, but then I would show up at practice and they'd be like, "Who are you? Like, what are you doing right now?" Like, and so kind of like I didn't really understand what like a really hard run test was or a really good lift was until I got to college. And even then, like my freshman year, it was like it was definitely difficult, and I would say that I was in shape, but I didn't learn how to actually get into like feel accomplished and like do a good workout and have a good run until after my accident, and just kind of learning that worth ethic. And because I knew that if I ever wanted to play lacrosse again, I would have to put twice as much work in as everybody else, and I would have to put in hours and hours and hours in a day because I had one less leg than everybody else, and I was trying to still compete for a position on the team. And just kind of having that, it really makes you appreciate it, and really makes you look back and think what if, and kind of be upset with yourself just because I didn't apply myself the way I could have and the way that I should have. And so and transitioning over to track, I mean, college 100% prepared me for what I'm doing now. I mean, playing a Division 1 sport, like the time and the work ethic that goes into it. And I mean, people say like if you play a college sport, like, yeah, you're there to be a student, but really it's like being a full-time athlete, full-time job. And it's like you're going to practice, you have 6 a.m. lift, and then you have only a couple hour practice. I mean, only a couple hour class, and then you have to kind of figure out when you need to eat and everything. And it just comes all at you. So transitioning over to track, I knew that if I could do that, I could definitely put my time commitment into training for the Paralympics. So that definitely, I would say, helped me. I mean, nowadays it's crazy. I can't go like a day without doing something active, or I just feel unaccomplished with myself. So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. But I mean, I just really grown and learned from myself and from my teammates and coaches over the years of like what putting in a really good workout is.
That's awesome. I've kind of inadvertently beat around the bush here as to you why exactly you are a Paralympian. So I just couldn't help myself with getting into how you actually physically what you've done in the last 2 years. But do you mind, for anyone that isn't very familiar with your story, just talking about what happened in 2016 to really set the stage for where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2016, the summer following my freshman year, I was involved in a moped accident. I was at Martha's Vineyard and I was riding a moped and I saw a dump truck coming in the opposite direction as me and I veered left and I sideswiped it and my leg was severed on the scene and I was completely conscious. And one of the biggest things I did think about, and the only thing that I was worried about at the time, was that I was never going to be able to walk again, let alone run or play sports. And so I really did think that my life was over. And that's just everything that was like coming at me. And I was just thinking, and then waking up the next day in the hospital and having the support that I did from the university, my coaches, my teammates, my friends, my family, that really like got me to the level that I wasn't going to accept this and I wasn't going to accept that this was going to be it for me. And I also had a lot of the Boston Marathon survivors reaching out to me, just kind of sharing their stories and everything that they've gone through. And hearing that, I really couldn't sit there and feel sorry for myself. And that's when I kind of vowed to myself that I really didn't want to let this accident define the person I wanted to become or the athlete or define the rest of my life. And I was able to work my way back playing Division I lacrosse. It took me about a year and a half. So I returned my junior season, and then I went on to play my senior season. It was like my accident never even happened, and the only reason why that was even possible was because of the support that I received from my teammates and coaches and the people that took the time out of their days. I mean, my assistant coach was literally amazing, just forcing me to do workouts. And just getting me to where I needed to be, and having that tough love really did, and that kind of coach to yell at me and scream at me is something that I needed. I'm that type of person that needs to be yelled at and screamed at to do something, or I'm not going to do it, or at least I was before then. And so when I graduated, I really didn't want to hang up my athletic career just yet. And because in my eyes, I'd only been running for about 2 years, and I just thought I learned how to run again, and I really didn't want to hang it up. And so that's when I started learning about the Paralympics, and someone from the US Paralympic track and field team reached out to me asking if I've ever thought about pursuing the sport. And I had never done track and field in my life, but I thought this would be an amazing opportunity to represent my country if I was going to be good enough. And so I just signed myself up for the first track meet. And I mean, getting to train alongside people with two legs for the 2 years prior to that track meet at lacrosse, and doing every single run test. I mean, if I came in last, I would have to do 10 burpees. And so that was really getting me ready for this moment. And in my first track meet ever, not only did I win, but I also beat the reigning national champion, and I hit the qualifying times to be a part of the US Paralympic national team. And I always credit that to my lacrosse teammates because I'm sprinting alongside them, trying to keep up with them. And that really did prepare me. And then I started training with a Paralympian in Boston, and she introduced me to our coach now. And I've just been kind of riding the wave and getting to where I need to be. And I mean, the goal was making it to Tokyo for 2020, but kind of having COVID happen and everything really was a blessing in disguise for me, just because I was so new to the sport, and having that whole extra year to train and get better and just to really get more conditioned and comfortable with being on the track and understanding what it's like being at a track meet was crucial for me. And I'm running the best times I've ever ran in my life. And so it's crazy to think that something so awful and tragic I've turned it into another positive. And I think it's just like always telling myself like things can happen in life and you just have to push through it, and you have to go through every single day and apply yourself 100%, because you never know what's going to happen. And you just, when the moment presents itself, to always be ready. So yeah, now I'm training for Tokyo 2020 21.
It's what I mean, 2 years is just so fast. Like it's just crazy to me to think like how much things can change. And for you, it's incredible to me that you've been able to accomplish so much. I did just want to ask a couple questions about after the accident happened. I mean, I know, of course, you're like, oh man, am I going to walk again? But did you ever like fear for your life? Or was it ever to the point where you thought maybe, you know, it could have been that bad?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I was laying on the ground, and I knew exactly what happened to me. I mean, tons. It was on a main road, so I had tons of people coming up and like helping. The guy driving behind me actually took a shirt off to create a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. But I really never felt that I was gonna die. And I honestly think it's just because of, I mean, I really did have God looking out for me that day, because I had the man driving in the car, and then I also had there was a nurse jogging on the scene, like jogging near the scene. And so she came up and she was helping me, kind of getting me like situated before the EMT showed up. And then, so I mean, the biggest thing that I was thinking of, I mean, it really was lacrosse. And I just kept saying it out loud. I was like, I'm never going to play lacrosse again. And then I literally remember seeing someone like carrying my leg around in a towel. Like it was, everything was just hitting me, but it never came to me that I thought that my life was going to end. And I mean, the EMTs were amazing, and they took me to Martha's Vineyard Hospital. And there's when they told me that I was stable, but I was going to have to be med flighted over to BMC. And so kind of hearing that, that's definitely, I mean, that's when I realized that, okay, this is going to be my new life. Like I'm going to be an amputee, because I knew that they probably weren't going to be able to reattach it, because I was asking the question 100 times in the ambulance and they just weren't answering me. So I knew it was going to be a possibility. And so luckily that was the only thing wrong with me too. I didn't have a scratch on my body
Oh,
other than
wow.
that. So that was another thing. And it was crazy, but I never feared for my life. I was thinking about all the wrong things in that moment, just kind of being myself, just thinking I'm never going to be able to play sports again. But yeah.
And you know, the reason why I ask that, I know it's kind of a morbid question, but it just sort of, in my mind, it really sets the stage for that. Literally, could have been in some regards is the worst thing that could happen, like the lowest moment you could have. But it sets the stage for this incredible perseverance, and that's basically the tone of your entire story. So once you realize what's going to happen, you're going to Boston, you're going to be med flighted. I mean, you've mentioned this incredible support team, but doesn't mean that you still don't have bad days. So when you think about just that 18-month journey of getting back onto the lacrosse field, I mean, how bad were your worst days mentally? I just mean dealing with just what those lows really were, and how did you push through time and time again?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I think the biggest thing for me was keeping myself busy, keeping my mind occupied, not laying in bed, just feeling sorry for myself, always staying busy. And I mean, the time that I got out of the hospital is the time that everyone was returning back to campus and returning to practice. So I didn't even have a walking prosthetic yet. And I was driving myself back and forth from New Hampshire to UMass every single day to be at practice. And I think that definitely it was good for me. It was good therapy for me, just because it kept my mind busy. But obviously sitting there on the sidelines, watching everyone else practice, that was definitely tough for me, just because I didn't know if I would ever be able to play again. And at that moment, I was probably thinking that it was probably never going to happen. And I would say like the toughest parts, and I would say the only person that I ever showed emotion to about it was my mom. And trade this image out on my social media to everybody else that I was okay with it, because I didn't want people feeling sorry for me and I didn't want people to pity me. And so coming home is kind of when I would just like let it all out. And I mean, my mom is an amazing. She's a superhero. She's a rock star. Just like telling me that nobody was expecting anything out of me, and then she was also telling me that if anybody can do it, that it was me. That I could overcome this, and I could return playing lacrosse again. So, hearing that, that really definitely got me ready, and just kind of mentally helped. But I mean, it was like every single month was another battle with dealing with something new, with getting my walking prosthetic, to kind of creating a new role for myself in the team, to getting my running blade. It was all just like hitting me, and I would just kind of be in the moment and just say to myself, just get through this day and get through this workout or get through this exercise, and we'll hit the next journey tomorrow with whatever it is. We'll tackle it then, and just to always be in the moment and to always worry about that. And so that definitely helped.
Yeah, clearly, you just have the mental makeup for the warrior mindset. But was there? Do you recall, were you reading anything, watching, listening, any sort of things that you were kind of doing to maybe get some positivity, or just anything at all, even if it was just to relax, like it was Bravo, but you need was there any crutch to kind of get you through?
I mean, I would honestly just say treating like every single day just like normal, like not like watching the same stuff. I mean, I would definitely say reading up and kind of learning and educating myself on the Boston Marathon survivors, and just everything that they've gone through, and like watching the documentaries, and everything, hearing their stories. That definitely helped me in a mental state. And I mean, my assistant coach was amazing as well. I mean, she's a huge advocate of being in the moment, and she was the person that taught me to actually how to deal with the mental toughness and how to actually push through and only focus on the things that you can only control, and being comfortable with being uncomfortable and stuff like that. So learning those lessons from her. I mean, she's a huge CrossFit athlete now, so she learned from all the greats. I believe his name is Bob Bergeron. Bergeron. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, he writes all these books and everything, and she would just kind of portray it to me and help me. But I would just say the biggest thing is just literally just maintaining my day like it was a normal day, and not focusing on anything that was going to get me to overthink or freak out, and kind of just being in the moment. And that just seemed to help. And going to my prosthetic company, my prosthetist is also an above knee amputee as well. So having him as well, like kind of asking all these questions and him directing me and kind of helping me, was another huge thing. But I mean, I got tons of books in the hospital about people overcoming things, and I'm not a huge reader. So I can say that I never read it. But I would also say social media played a huge part in helping me kind of maintain a positive attitude. I mean, there's just the people reaching out and always being on my side. It was definitely an amazing thing to see.
That's awesome. Um, I want to ask about the Born to Run Foundation. At what point in this journey does this idea first come to you, and then how ultimately does it come to you, what we have today?
Yeah, absolutely. I started thinking about starting my own nonprofit my junior year, because in my own personal story, I actually had to have my running prosthetic donated to me through another foundation called the Challenge Athletes Foundation. And what a lot of people don't know is your insurance company will only cover your everyday walking prosthetic. And if you want a running blade or a waterproof prosthetic to go to the beach or go to the pool, you need to come up with those funds on your own. Insurance companies will not cover it, and they can range anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000, just depending on what type of leg that you want. And so, hearing that at first, I thought that I was never going to be able to run again. And that's when I started learning about all these amazing foundations out there. And I was then gifted with a waterproof prosthetic from another foundation called the Rehabbed Foundation. She was in the Boston Marathon bombing. And so just kind of learning about those foundations and kind of educating myself, and just kind of being that person that needed help, and got the help that I needed. I thought that it was really important to me to give it back, and it really spoke to me, these foundations. So that's really what inspired me to start my own. And so my junior year, I actually had my mom and my uncle were basically the ones that made it possible, because I was in college and I was trying to get back on the lacrosse field, and they were the ones kind of behind the scenes doing all the work of getting it cleared by the IRS and getting it to where it is now. And then my senior year, we had our first fundraising golf tournament, and in that first fundraiser, we were able to raise enough money to donate our first prosthetic, and that was also my senior year in 2018. And so just getting to be a part of that and getting to be in the moment of kind of giving it back and having it go full circle really was special to me. And I mean, the foundation's motto and mission statement is just providing prosthetics to younger adults and children that really just want to live a fun and fulfilling life and don't have to worry about paying for a costly prosthetic. So whether that be running, going to the beach, snowboarding, mountain biking, basically anything you can think of. I always say that I want to help anything that I can. And I believe it's been 3 years. Yes, 3 years. We are actually making our 14th donation this Saturday. And I mean, every single donation is always so special, just because getting to learn about the person and their story and the things that they want to do with their lives is truly inspiring and motivating for myself just to keep going. And it's really creating that family of a support system for people to go to if they're having difficult times or anything. And for me personally, I just want to portray that message out there that if anybody is going through a difficult time, that 100% they can push through it. And I am living proof of that. And I mean, the things that I've been able to accomplish, and the things that I've been able to overcome, that they 100% they can do everything that I've done. And it really just depends on just kind of the support system that you have, and really just your mindset of everything. If you believe you can, then that is literally 90% of the battle, I promise you. So I'm just super grateful for the support that we have received. I keep talking about my mom, but she's literally the reason why the foundation is where it is today. Because I mean, I have a million different things going on, and she also has a full-time job, but she's also taking time out to kind of be the backbone of the foundation. So I'm really grateful for that.
That's awesome. And you know, I want to make sure we brought that up first, because the number of rewards and awards that you've received it's just incredible. I feel like every time I make a list, I need to update it, because it seemingly you have something else, your name attached to another award. I mean, on top, like, to me, the whirlwind of just getting yourself in position to compete is one thing. Like, your story just as an athlete is incredible, but when you add in the philanthropic part of it with the foundation, and then the attention that you get from the media because of it, like, is any part of you like finding it difficult to just stay grounded in going back to what you had said when you were rehabbing, is just focusing on the now and in the day to day?
Yeah, I mean, something about me is I always have to keep myself busy, and I always have to try new things, and I'm never satisfied, which is something to be so annoyed with myself. Is I do one thing, and then I'm always looking towards the future, and always, which I need to stay in the moment. But I mean, it never gets too much, because I always just think how grateful I am to be in the situation that I am, to be doing the things that I love, and to have the support system to be able to do it. And so, I mean, me personally, it's always it's always just doing it for someone out there that thinks they can't. And I think having the people that I have in my life to help make that actually possible, to help get it out there. I mean, with having the media always willing to share my story and things, I mean, one story can be released and you don't know how many people that could help or who it could reach. And so that's just always the main goal. And so for me personally, I really do need to relax and just kind of be in the moment. And like right now, it's focusing on Tokyo, and it's focusing on the donation that we're doing Saturday, and just being in that moment. But I mean, like, I'm just always looking towards the future, and like what I could do more to kind of just get myself to where I want to be. And I mean, I'm always just never satisfied. And I honestly think it's because having 3 older brothers and growing up alongside them playing sports, I learned a lot from them, and always trying to be like them. And so that really plays a part in it. But every single day, I'm so fortunate to be able to step foot on the track, and to be doing a workout and to be at practice and to be doing the things that I love, because I know a lot of people out there can't be doing a lot of things that they love. So I've learned to appreciate it and to love it and really never take it for granted.
Well, I know you're living in the moment. We got Tokyo, big event on Saturday, but you're still young. I know that you have your eyes set on other stuff. So when you think about what could very well be at least a decade of you competing, where it is that maybe there could be a winter sport in the future. I mean, as someone admittedly that likes to be doing different things, where do you see maybe the road taking you as you get further and further into this competition?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, last winter I decided that I wanted to pick up snowboarding. Probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, right before the Paralympic Games. But my boyfriend is an amazing snowboarder. He's awesome. And he really wanted he really wanted to get me into it. And so I was actually able to get a snowboarding leg kind of lent to me to try out and everything. And I instantly fell in love. And so I'm always thinking, okay, now I want to try to compete in this competitively. So I know that Beijing 2022 is coming up in March. So, but I mean, it's probably not even possible for me to make that team because I am so new. Like, I don't even have my own snowboard. I was using my trainers. I literally don't even have all my own equipment, but I've kind of told myself when Tokyo's done. I mean, obviously I'm still gonna do track because the world championships are in November of 2022, just a year later. So I can't really put that aside. I don't really have a dead year for track, but I also kind of want to see if I can pursue snowboarding and see if I can do it competitively. So I mean, I've been reaching out to a lot of different amazing people that seem to be in my corner and seem to be willing to help me. So I'm just extremely excited to even try it, to see if I could be good enough. I mean, it's just that thing in the back of my head that I need to try it. I need to see if I can actually compete in it, just like it was for track. But I'm also that person that will continue to do it until it happens. So if it doesn't happen for Beijing 2022, I'm already looking at Milan 2026. So I mean, it's always something with me. But I mean, I'm like I said, I'm grateful and fortunate enough to have these different amazing opportunities. But yeah, so hopefully I can say that I did 2 Paralympic Games. But I know it is going to take so much work and effort, and it really is going to eat up my life, but I'm grateful for it.
Safe to say we're only just beginning to hear the name Noelle Lambert.
I hope
Um,
so. I hope so.
Well, Noelle, to close this out, I just have this little thing called the gauntlet. I got a couple quick hitter questions for you. I want your knee jerk answer to a couple things.
All right.
Are you Team Brady or are you Team Belichick?
Oh, that's tough. I love them both. You know what? I mean, I love Belichick because of just who he is and what he stands for, and just kind of like the lessons and everything, like the strict, because that is the type of coach I need in my life. I need that mentally stable, like, this is cut and throat. This is what it is. If you don't like it, get out. And so growing up, that's the type of coach I always needed. But I also love Brady just because of everything. I mean, he's given to New England Patriots. He's given to this city and everything. And so you can't not be happy for him. I mean, he wanted to go off and do his own thing, and I mean, just to go to another team and win a Super Bowl in the first year. I mean, it was being like a jealous girlfriend in that aspect. I mean, that's a tough question. I don't know. I choose both. I mean, I love them both.
All
I would
right, yeah, you
say,
don't have to pick one.
yeah, I mean, both of their work ethics is just like things that I strive for. Like, I mean, things that Brady does, I don't understand how he does it. Just like his rehab, his eating habits, his mental work ethic. It's insane. It really is. So you can go both ways. So I'm just gonna remain neutral.
Now, In a perfect world, would you have rather been an All-American lacrosse player or an Olympic gold medal recipient?
Huh. For track, for the
Sure.
Olympics. Um, I'm just gonna say track right now, just because that's what I'm doing. I'm still involved in lacrosse heavily. I still coach it, but when I see all these other athletes, I mean these stud lacrosse players, these pro lacrosse players playing right now, I mean it's insane, like how great they are. And just to think that I mean, I wish I could be at their level playing, but I mean, I would definitely say the Olympic gold medalist does have an amazing ring to it. So I'm gonna choose that one.
Now, do you have a favorite sports memory?
A favorite sports memory, like my own personal one, or like sports, like the professional.
However you interpret it.
I would say definitely. I mean, growing up, I played soccer, basketball, and lacrosse, and I love basketball. I loved playing it. I mean, I wasn't the best player, but I mean, I was only like good at defense, offense. It was just coming. It was just
I
like
can relate to that.
yeah, it was just like come and go. But we actually won the state championship back-to-back years, my junior and senior year. So that was really incredible to be a part of. And so that's definitely my favorite sports moment of that. I mean, I would say that's with two legs. With one leg, I would have to say my first game back and returning to the field and being able to score a goal in my first game back ever. That's definitely up there 100%.
That video is on YouTube. I know because I watched it, and that's goosebumps. Your team's reaction. I mean, that's next
That's
level.
what makes the video the best, is the fact that it is the reaction that I got from them and kind of having them run after me and just get me to stop running.
Now, do you have anyone or whether it's personally or just out there that you would say is your biggest inspiration?
I would say my biggest inspiration definitely is my teammate Famita Ayambeku. She's a below knee amputee. We did talk about her, but she lost her leg when she was, I believe, 9 years old in a car accident. And I mean, our stories kind of are similar just because she started track in 2015 and literally qualified for the 2016 Rio Paralympics, and just her worth ethic and everything and what she stands for, and it really has taught me to be where I am today. And just going to practice every single day, just watching her, I mean, it's like a freaking gazelle running. It's just so beautiful, and I don't understand it. Like if I had two legs, she would still kick my ass. And so she's definitely what motivates me, what inspires me. And I mean, she's the best mentor I've ever had.
All right. Well, last one for you. I always like to end on this. What's the one best piece of advice you'd like to end this on that you'd give to anyone out there?
I would say the biggest advice that I received that I still go by today is, with whatever you do in your life, you always want to find what your why is. Why are you doing this? Why are you passionate about it? And then whatever that answer is, you use that as fuel and motivation to get you to the point of answering that question. I mean, for me, it was always returning to play. I mean, I was always like, why am I doing this? And it was always for showing people and proving to the doubters that I could, and showing people that I wasn't broken. So always have something to fight for. It will go a long way.
There you have it. So it's noellelambert.com, the Born to Run Foundation. Everyone can find you on social media under Noelle Lambert. Any other place people should be following your story?
I think that's about it.
Well, Noelle, thank you so much for taking the time. And of course, best wishes as you head out to Tokyo.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me and helping me share my story.